that pig would have to have a lot of personality. It'd have to be like
Green Acres. I'm talking
yeah.
10 times more charming than Arnold in Green Acres.
Yeah. But the idea is maybe we're just not sensitive enough to understand the personality of like a cow or a chicken. And listening to Chris's album, Sweet Goose, he talked about that song Isla, which is the title track. It's about a hen. It's a beautiful song about friendship and togetherness and love, and not romantic love, but it's just like, it makes me cry every time. And it's about a hen, and it's easy for us to forget that these animals are individuals. And I think maybe people who have pets are a good, and listen, I'm using the terminology have pet, whatever.
How dare you say pet on this show? You know how hardcore I am about using words like that. How dare you? How dare you use the language of the oppressor?
It might be an easy way in to get people to recognize the individuals and the personalities. And it's like, there's something to that. I don't want to eat something with a personality. Well, maybe we just need to become more sensitive to that. And to that end, a really great article came out. I think I sent it to you this week, about AI learning how animals can speak. And, and we talked about this on our Future Force show months ago, and we said that this is something that they're probably going to start doing soon. And hey, here it is, it's happening. So there's researchers that are trying to, they have so there's two things happening at once. Number one, we have this AI revolution where we can take data and interpret it in a way like we've never been able to do before. And then on the other side, we have cheap microphones and cheap sensor technology. So what they're doing is they're all over the ocean. They're putting little microphones and sensors and things like that. And they're listening to the whales. And they are using AI to map whale language. And it's interesting. They found, and obviously this is obvious, but like, how humans, we have like French, English, Spanish, whales have a similar thing. Where it's like, yeah, they're still a whale, they're still speaking, but that's like a very specific dialect.
Yeah, we've known that for a long time, that whales have different languages, that their songs are sung differently, so that they can't actually, different pods can't communicate with one another. And like that, so that when something is popular with an orca pod in this part of the ocean, they know that this other pod is not going to do it because they don't communicate whatsoever. Isn't that weird? They develop their own cultures as well. And so,
like the orcas that are like, taking down these ships. That's so interesting to me. And it's so cool that, like, again, Chris's song is about that essentially. But I think
about the orcas, there's orcas destroying yachts now. Yeah.
Like, I think it's going to be much more difficult for people to justify doing what we do to animals when a cow is going to be able to like communicate in some sort of way that is, do you see what I mean? It's like, it's easy for someone to say, oh yeah, it's just a dumb cow. But if the cow's there like, actually I have thoughts, let's get into this. That might be interesting.
And I think we're so much closer. Like, so I don't know if you heard that I had dinner with a vegan who's working on prosthetics, and it's really interesting because she's in a field that typically was once kind of rife with animal experimentation, and now she's trying to use AI and printing technology to make custom non-intrusive prosthetics that AI uses to kind of infer what you're trying to accomplish. So like, because of the movement of your arm and the muscles that you're using, AI can determine that you're trying to grip or that you're trying to point based on so many other factors. I think that's like the AI can live in your prosthesis and can determine based on just implications of your movements and your like parts of your expressions. It can know what you're doing so that it can be part of you. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, so we're using this now to help people who are missing a limb, right? What if we started using things like this to like enhance humans? So it's like, now I've got an extra arm, maybe it's not exactly that.
Yeah, I just don't know how we would. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably where we're going. I just don't know how AI would be able, like, this is such a huge step already because the person knows what it feels like to have an arm. And so the AI can know what they want to do with an arm that shoulda, coulda, woulda been there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that would work with people with birth defects, but people who have lost limbs, definitely. And like,
well, sorry to interrupt. We've all seen images of like a man with like wings coming out of his back, like, the typical like angel sort of thing, right? Can you imagine what muscles you would have to use to like get your wings to come out and expand and do that? Can you feel that? Because I can feel that sort of.
Like,
It's just
yeah, I
my,
guess so.
you know what I mean? But it's there. So even with stuff that we haven't ever had, I think it's possible that like we're going to be able to do this, you know, and it's going to be help people at work, you know, and we already have versions of that where it's like you can lift heavier objects because
Oh
there's a,
yeah, they do have like the forklift, like the like the Ripley, what was her like the
oh,
aliens, like the
alien,
Sigourney
yeah,
Weaver forklift suit. They already are building those. It's unbelievable. It's like
yeah,
they're prophetic. Yeah, I mean, the sad thing about it for me is that what's probably going to happen is that those, you know, wing suits and things like that, they'll put monkeys in them first, and they'll operate on raccoons, like Rocky Raccoon. This is the thing that I'm trying to fight against. If we're gonna, if human beings are going to foray into this new, you know, frontier, then we should leave the animals out of it. They're not going with us, so leave them out of the
well,
fucking
yeah.
equation. Like stop using them. I
That's
mean,
another thing that AI is great for. You know, we don't have to do all
yeah,
these tests on animals. We can do it in a virtual environment. But
yeah.
yeah, man, did I talk about Leica last week when I was on the show? Because I got emotional over Leica. You know who Leica is?
Of course, she went to space. She
Hmm.
was the first dog in space.
And what they did to that poor dog, because
Yeah.
having my dog, you know, Faye here, she looks a
Her
lot
face
like
kind of
her.
looks like Leica.
Hmm. So I
Yeah.
read Leica's story after I got Faye, and I wept. I wept.
Dude, there's an amazing it's usually at the library. It's an amazing graphic novel about Leica's life, and it seems a comic book. It's unbelievable. It's yeah,
Yeah,
I was so she was a stray dog.
yeah. And she must have been so scared up there all alone. That's what I kept thinking. Um,
All alone in space.
yeah.
Think about the rocket ship to take her up into the
So
it's
loud and so scary and so alone and just like, you know.
yeah,
But
having people yell Russian at her, yeah, that's scary enough. I don't know if you've ever heard Russians speak. They
it's
talk
true.
that they're scary. Russians are
Yeah,
scary. I
I've
grew up in the
seen.
80s, and that's who we used as the bad guys.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah,
like
that
it
is
was
forever
definitely
ingrained.
only Jess McKay is going to weep over a dog that died 95 years ago. But yeah,
Someone else will. Someone
or
else has.
70 years, 75 years. How long ago was it? 65 years ago? A long time ago.
Just a long
I
time
found
ago.
out that the yesterday that insulin was isolated in 1923 to 100 years ago, and still on college websites they're using insulin as the reason why we need to operate and vivisect animals. Like, it happened 100 years ago. What
Mhm.
happened 100 years ago is not a good excuse. It's
Wow.
unbelievable to me.